Okay, Rutgers stampedes the Howard Bison with a 44-7 victory at SHI Stadium in Piscataway and actually threw 3 touchdowns. Let's get to it. Okay, so Rutgers takes care of business in Piscataway, beating the Howard Bison 44-7 as we stampede over them in the running game. 329 yards rushing, 165 yards by Kyle. We actually throw for 3 touchdown passes. Athan Kaliakmanis looking the part. This is good news. This is a good sign. Yes, it's Howard. One of the things we were looking at is competency at the quarterback position, who can manage a game, not make the big mistakes, and yet still make the throws. And Athan passed with flying colors in a 44-7 victory. Kind of close to my prediction of 45-10. I'm sure there were some guys in the betting world at the end with that last 11-yard touchdown run by Antoine Raymond. Were not real happy. Nonetheless, we had a slow start. You know, after a slow start, a little bit disconcerting. There's always those guys in front of you in my section. They're like, "What are you doing? What kind of play is that?" You kind of felt that, you know, the momentum would pick up and we would start to wear them down as the game went on. It just took a little longer than we would have liked. The good, the bad, and the ugly. There was a lot of good, a little bit of bad, a little bit of ugly. Let's get to the good, and that starts with the quarterback position. Athan Kaliakmanis did what he had to do. He did his job. He was 15 for 24, 147 yards, 3 touchdowns, and there was 4 drops that I counted. So if he goes 19 for 24 and he has near 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's a resounding success. But it's not just about the production, the stats, the final score, and all that. Just watching him in the pocket, he looked like a quarterback. He looked like a quarterback that we haven't had since, I can't even say Mike Teal, because Teal wasn't exactly fluid and polished back there. He wasn't a terribly accurate passer. Nonetheless, really good job by Athan. He was comfortable in the pocket. He was fluid. He made good decisions. He just looked like a real quarterback. Just the poise. Every time he stepped back in the pocket where in the past we were a little bit worried, okay, what was going to happen? You just knew that he was going to throw the ball with good ball placement in a tight window. And what stunned me was how accurate he was. Now, I've watched some tape of him. Coach said he was by far the most accurate quarterback in camp, and we're kind of like, I don't know about that. But I have to tell you, he didn't miss much. He missed a crossing pattern early on in the game, and he had a couple throwaways, and maybe one other pass that wasn't as accurate as it could have been. But I was just dumbfounded how, even with the corners all over the wide receiver, he stuck that ball in there, and I was just pleasantly surprised by that. Remember that pass drop by Ian Strong, which kind of hurt our momentum early. We were having our way on offense with Howard, and Ian Strong drops one right across the middle, hits him like right in the shoulder pads. I think he had another one. Dymere Miller had one. And so that kind of hurt our momentum early on. Nonetheless, another thing that I liked about Athan's game, wasn't afraid to go across the middle. This is something that we're not used to. You know, when Gavin did that, the ball would be behind him, over him, in front of him, would bounce up and tip up in the air. You never knew. You always had to hold your breath. But Athan did a really good job throwing across the middle. And I love that we were using more crossing patterns. You know, I've been complaining forever about crossing patterns and screen passes and both those things tonight, and we'll get to the screen passes in a little bit. We utilize as part of our toolkit, and that's a good job by Coach Shiraka, Athan Kaliakmanis, and the receivers. They were getting open. Whoever, you know, there was some talking heads out there that were questioning Athan's athleticism. This is absolutely absurd. His smoothness and his fluidity when leaving the pocket was a beautiful thing to watch. There were times when he got flushed out and took off, and there were times where it was kind of designed, but unlike Gavitt, where you just knew where he was going and he was running with it. The thing I liked about Athan is he disguises it pretty well. I think he had, 6 rushes or 7 rushes for 43 yards, and there was a couple tush pushes in there. So he did a really good job getting first downs, so we don't have to worry about losing Gavin's productivity of 497 yards rushing. His decision making, stupendous. Like I said, when he dropped back in the pocket, I wasn't worried if the ball was going to go in some crazy place. Like, what the heck was that? Did a really good job with ball placement. One of the things Coach said in the post-game press conference, he did not predetermine where he was going with the ball. What does that mean? He didn't lock on to his number 1 receiver. He went through his progressions, and he hit a wide variety of receivers in the post-game press conference. One of the reporters asked him about what does it mean if he can complete passes to 8 different guys. I can tell you that's a good thing because he's managing the game. He's seeing the game in front of him. He can spread the ball around and can make the throws, make good decisions, good ball placement. Really happy about that. So that is one of the good things, one of the really good things that happened last night. We needed to get good play out of the quarterback. The running game, you know, that's going to be our bread and butter no matter what we think about how much more we have to use the passing game. And Kyle was Kyle. He had 165 yards with, midway through the third quarter. I'm thinking, let's get him 200. But rightfully so, they started to work in Sam. And this is the second thing that I'm really happy about. Sam Brown had himself a game last night. Early on, he looked like a different runner. He was comfortable, wasn't tentative, was hitting the hole. He wasn't hitting the hole tentatively. He was decisive in getting through there. Unlike last year, you can see he was a little bit tentative. Now he was still maybe getting 3-4 yards a pop. But as we got into the second half, he was exploding through those holes, quickly wearing down the defense, and wound up with 14 carries, 68 yards, so it's just under 5 yards a clip. So if we could get production like that out of Sam, first of all, I'm really happy for him. Good dude, and I wish him well for the rest of the year, and I hope he gets more productivity like that. And it helps give us rotation. I kind of feel that we have a deep running back room. We should get more guys in there, prevent some injuries, rest some guys, keep the defense on its heels, never know who's coming where. So that was a really good thing. And, Kyle was Kyle, 19 rushes, 165 yards, and a touchdown. Early on, though, one of the reasons for our slow start on offense, we had some drop passes, but it wasn't about the offense's inability to build rhythm and momentum. They looked to be in rhythm, but it was just situational football and play calling in those circumstances early on that maybe they got too predictable with Kyle on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and Howard was ready for it. He got stopped on 4th and 1, didn't really gain anything, and that prevented us from extending the drive in Howard territory. But, so it was a matter of, play calling and situationally what was going on. But there were times that Kyle just got chunks. And he did his thing several times. He had big runs. A really big one before the end of the second half. Then had a personal foul penalty called against him that enabled us to get a field goal to close out the half, 17-7. A running get now. Antoine Raymond gets that touchdown. 11-yard touchdown with, whatever it was, 8 seconds left on the clock. Last play of the game. The media is going to run with that. To me, it wasn't a big deal. It's not like he threw the ball. If coach threw the ball out, that's one thing. But you're on the 11-yard line, man, and you're handing the ball off to like a fourth-string running back. Just stop them. Teams do that now. They run the ball. They don't always kneel. They're going to hand it off. I'm not so upset with that, although there are some guys on the betting line that probably were. Nonetheless, that's... just stop them. You're on the 11-yard line. Show some pride. They didn't. Those were all good things. Defensively, so on offense, I kind of give them an A-. I think that's a fair score. They could have not dropped as many passes, scored a little bit more early. That would have been a solid A grade because we would have seen what we needed to see. The wide receiver. Here's another good thing before we get to the wide receivers. We actually got production out of the tight end position. I mean, if we can get production out of the tight end, and there were some interesting play calls in there, that this bodes well for us in the future to pull something out of the toolkit which we haven't had in the past. Fletcher had 4 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. He almost had a second touchdown. He was stopped at like the 1 or 2 yard line. Victor Konopka had one reception for 12 yards. And when things aren't opening up downfield and you have the ability to get the ball to your tight end, either underneath or out in the flat as a safety valve, I mean, I was really happy to see that. And I'm almost positive that we used a tight end screen to Fletcher on one of those plays. And this is the other thing that I was ecstatic about. We actually, my count, completed 4 screen passes, one to Sam for a 34-yard touchdown that was on the heels of a really bad call, an ensuing unsportsmanlike 15-yard penalty against Coach Shiano for being pissed off about the non-call. So now it's third quarter. It's 3rd and 25 from the 34-yard line. And we throw a screen to a wide open Sam out in the flat, and he basically walks into the end zone. So those 2 aspects of the passing game, usage of the tight end, different kind of play calls, and using the screen pass is going to open things up for us with play calls and situational football that we weren't able to take advantage of in the past. So I was extremely, extremely happy about that. The other thing that was really good, 0 sacks. The offensive line gave up 0 sacks, and not only that, there wasn't a lot of pressure. I mean, there were a couple times during that game where Athan was just standing back there, surveying the field, looking for guys that were open. Again, it's Howard. Nonetheless, when you give up no sacks, and I don't know what the stats are on pressures, but it didn't look like Howard got much pressure. So that's a good job. Wide receivers. Wasn't super productive. Want to see more production, and a lot of that, had to do with drops. Like I said, we had 4 drops. We only completed 8 passes to wide receivers. So Daimir 4 catches, 37 yards, 2-yard touchdown. On that 2-yard touchdown, it looked like he was going to be stopped short. He fought his way in, so that's a good job by him. He's not a big guy. He's like 5'11", and so he got his first touchdown. Ian Strong wound up 2 catches, 20 yards. KJ Duff 1 for 9. Chris Long 1 for 4. We need to see, got to pump up those numbers. Those are rookie numbers. We need more production out of the wide receivers to give us at least the threat of being able to complete passes across the middle of the field and downfield deep. When your tight ends and your wide receiver have almost the same production, I guess that could be a good and a bad thing. So as we move on to the defense, I don't want to say it's bad, but needs some work. We same old boogaboo. We got pressure, no sacks until Jordan Walker with 48 seconds left in the game. And once again, we were vulnerable to those big athletic quarterbacks. Early on, the only play, it was like schoolyard football, the only play that Howard was successful on was a quarterback run, a quarterback draw. Whenever they needed a first down, that's what they ran with Scroggins, and he was successful a lot. He's a lot like Drones. He's 6'3", 205. Drones is like 6'3", 225, 230, whatever it is. He had 12 rushes for 67 yards, but a lot of those were for first downs. And when we got pressure on, he was able to scramble out of the pocket. We kind of held the traditional running game in check with Hunter and James, Edgerrin James' son. They had a total of 20 carries for 73 yards for a team that's pretty good at running the ball. So as far as that is concerned, that was a good part of the defense. We need to work on containing those versatile athletic quarterbacks. And we also need to do a little better job, off schedule. So we're getting pressure on, and it's 3rd and 11. Typical Rutgers series. Stop them on first down. Stop them on second down. This is like late in the second quarter. We flush him, the quarterback out of the pocket, and you're hoping he doesn't take off. And we had him contained, but he wings the ball downfield towards midfield. Receiver makes a leaping grab, really good catch, and I don't believe it was even intended for him, but they completed the pass. They were able to get near midfield. An ensuing roughing the quarterback call, which was kind of borderline, but I guess you have to call it these days, put them in pretty good field position, wind up scoring 14-7 game. And that was a typical Rutgers kind of series where you stop them on first and second down, you give up a big play to an athletic quarterback or something that's off schedule. So, we're going to have to deal with that again against Virginia Tech with Kyron Drones. He had a similar game. He had like 74 yards rushing last year. He had more yards passing. But he had a lot of rushes. I think it was like 20-something rushes he had. So, defense. Kosh Sanders got his first start. I said, throughout camp, don't be shocked if you see him getting significant playing time in the starting lineup. And of course, with Flip Dixon out, he was going to get playing time, but he started. And Coach Shiano is not one that likes to start freshmen. He got the start. He even said in the post-game press conference he deserved it. He put in the work, and so he got the start, and he felt good about it. He felt he had a good game, although he didn't, hasn't watched the tape. I think he had 1 pass deflection, maybe had 3 tackles, so nothing. Coach said when you don't get beat deep, that's always a good day for the safety, so nothing deep completed against the safeties, so that was pretty good. When we look at where Rutgers was successful on defense, when Howard ran traditional passing plays, traditional running plays, they didn't get very much. It's those off-schedule kind of athletic plays that hurts them. With our 5-2 4-2-5 defense. I'm not sure if it's a problematic for being soft in the middle, because we also, those quick hitting runs up the middle, in the middle of the field, getting into space, those things also hurt us. Hurt us last year. That was a weak part of our defense, was the running game in that middle part of the field, in addition to struggling with athletic quarterbacks. We got to work on some of those things. It's not really too bad, but if I were to give the defense a grade, B-. You did hold them to 7 points, and you had a 4th and 3 in the 14-yard line when the game was, not out of hand yet. In the second half, you came up big. So that's what matters in the end. A little bit of a bend, but don't break. If you look at the stats, Howard, 116 yards passing. That's pretty good. 145 yards rushing, but 67 of those yards from the quarterback position. So only 73 yards out of the running back position. And that's a two-headed monster that they have, that they're going to have lots of double-digit games. Rutgers, 147 yards passing, 329 yards rushing, 476 total yards. You'll take that. If we do something similar like that against Akron, we absolutely will take that. That's how it's going to be. When we talk about balance between rushing and passing, it's not going to be just about the same amount of yards. It's going to be the kind of productivity that we get, and how we can use the passing game to take some of the pressure off the predictability of the running game and teams stacking the line. So overall, A- for the offense, B- for the defense. Now the ugly. Coach Shiano, in midseason form, using 3 timeouts in the first half, 2 on punt plays, and once on a 1st and 10. It's like, what are you doing? It came back to hurt us, because after Kyle had that long run late in the first half and then had the personal foul penalty tacked on, we had no timeouts. So we made some plays in the running game, made some plays in the passing game. We had to spike the ball, but we couldn't go into the end zone because we had no timeouts. If we at least had a shot, I had confidence in Athan's ability to throw a good pass into the end zone. And if it wasn't there, he'd throw it away. He had a couple throwaways, which is also a sign of really good decision making. He just wasn't going to make a crazy pass like we would have had in the past. Nonetheless, we got a field goal out of it, 36-yarder by Jai Patel. But, using all. And then in the second half, early in the second half, we used another timeout. So we need to work on our time clock strategy. The other thing that, Coach was called for, unsportsmanlike penalty in the first half. I don't blame him. I was pissed too. We throw a pass into the end zone. Absolutely, positively was pass interference. And the receiver's path to the ball, which was catchable and inbounds, was knocked off path. Wasn't called. Coach was pissed. We get a 15-yard penalty from the 19. Now we're back at the 34. Thankfully, Athan was able to find a wide open Sam out in the flat, and we get a 34-yard touchdown and a big FU after that. Coach has got to be a little more judicious about how he voices his displeasure. He likes to have a disciplined team that doesn't get involved in those kinds of things. We did have a late hit penalty. Almost blocked the punt, too, in the first half. I was a little worried that we might hit the kicker, but we didn't. So just that overall inattention to detail in those moments during the game, that was I mean, we were just like laughing in the stands, using up all our timeouts on pump plays and first downs. Nonetheless, an overall good performance by Rutgers in their first game. We got what we wanted to see out of the quarterback position in the passing game. We got what we expected out of the running game. The defense was okay, but as we get healthier and we move forward in the season and become more cohesive as a unit and have our guys in there, we should, and as we get more experience, we had a bunch of young guys playing last night, that should help us out fairly well. And I'm not so worried about that, although when you go up against the new Big Ten members who run wide open offenses, you just need to be, stay home, take care of your business. And wide receiver room, looking forward to a little more productivity. Happy, I hope we continue to see more productivity out of the tight ends. Special teams last night, not much going on. Jay Patel with a 36-yard field goal. We did return a kick, a little bit of surprise. We got it out to the 28-yard line. All right, we got an extra 3 yards on that. Nonetheless, good job. Only way to celebrate is with Rutgers' favorite sons, Eric's Grand Kentucky Straight Bourbon. If this is not in your collection, it should be. Proceeds go to the Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundations for Spinal Research. So cheers to Eric. Cheers to a Rutgers victory. On to Akron. We'll see you the next time. And have a great Labor Day weekend.